Tut Pal was one of the lost boys of Sudan, a name ascribed to around 20,000 young southern Sudanese boys orphaned in the brutal war between government forces of the north and the Liberation Army of the south from 1983 until 2005. The lost boys escaped via a treacherous trek on foot across Sudan to Ethiopia and then south onto the refugee camps in Kenya. Tut now works in the Victorian Public Service.
When I found out I was coming to Australia, I was excited. I thought I knew what I was going into, and in my mind, compare that to what I was leaving behind. It was exciting. I knew there will be better opportunities for me, in my future and the future of my future family. You land here, with that excitement, then the reality begins to sink in. What do you do? Where do you go? Who do you talk to? Navigating your way, to succeed in this country then becomes difficult. You need to know people. You need to know to ask the right questions. You even need to know, what is there, before you even ask whether you could understand it a bit more or not. That's a challenge. Some people have done their best and, have gone ahead with their lives, and, you can say they've succeeded. Some people struggled because of those difficulties. It's a mix of, outcomes. I think, particularly the South Sudanese, or generally the Africans communities or migrants, are quite different to early migrant or early settlers, or early migrant that has arrived in Australia. And so you were dealing with, genuine, lack of knowledge or ignorance about these communities. It is that, and as I said, in the Lost Boys, we wanted to go out and educate people and let people know and understand us. We want people to know about the community. We want to share our stories. Just when they see us, they're not just looking at a tall Sudanese man. They also want to know where I've come from and probably why I came here. But of course, because of the difference, the differences, the physical differences, the skin color, the cultural differences, the language, and the challenges that comes with it, there is some sort of resistance from a certain section within the broader society to accept and welcome, newcomers, such the African communities. I think it's not unique to Australia alone. Maybe it's just what happened with immigration. The laws and the policies and what you get told by those in position of powers say multiculturalism is great, and it is, and that everyone is equal, and that we all have equal access to everything. No one should be discriminated, based on what. Great. We have those on paper. How do we make sure we realize those dreams in the real world? Some people face more challenges than others, and certainly the Sudanese and generally the Africans have faced more challenges trying to get accepted than probably other groups.
Clearly it would be much better if you did feel like you were part of the group.
Human being, we probably are the second animal that can die if you don't feel accepted. So people want to be accepted, and accepted, not just accepted, people want to be welcomed and be free to make decisions within the context of the bigger group, of the Australian society. Less people make choices, and your choices, they may be influenced by your background, by your experiences, by the history that you might have gone through, but your choices are your choices. As long as it fits within what is legal or what is acceptable, you may make different choices, but they're yours. So people want to be part of the bigger society. No one wants to, without black skin, we may still stand out, but inside, we want to do what Australians do. We want to live the Australian dream. And if people are always being reminded that you are different, sometimes it's a shock.
Have you noticed much of a change in Australia in the last 10 years since we did the book, all of us, to now, that's 10 years ago? Has there been much of a change from your perspective to how you viewed multiculturalism when you first arrived?
The grand idea of multiculturalism has not failed, but there is a serious effort to undermine it. We hear ministers, political leaders questioning it. We hear political leaders targeting or mentioning certain groups, saying they have a problem being part of this multicultural community, multicultural society of Australia. They are questioning the multiculturalism itself. The whole idea of multiculturalism, I believe, comes because of the immigration into this country. When you hear the minister or a minister of immigration saying, we will not sign up to the UN Convention or Protocol on Immigration, that tells you about what they think about immigration into Australia. And when you hear a political leader questioning whether people should come to Australia, you, the person that has already arrived, you start to think, what's next? What will they say about me? And they're already saying it.
Is there much that you can do in terms of the visible causes of that sort of thing within your own community, do you think?
The community is doing a lot already. There is a constant effort within the community to address the issues, the root causes. But the community can only do so much. The people who are asking to do something about these problems themselves are not prepared to deal with the problems.
You've got an education, you've got a job, you've got a family, so you've basically brought yourself into the Australian community.
I'm just one of the lucky ones. So when we say that the multiculturalism itself is, felt like it's being undermined by the political leaders, yes, it's still there. And those who are willing to make it work should continue to make it work. I think it's a question to those offering the opportunities to also accept people, regardless of what they look like, regardless of where they've come from, regardless of their ethnicity. Because people are out there wanting to live the Australian dream. And so should everyone.
Is there one thing you'd like to see change in the next 10 years that would make that more possible, especially for those people who aren't feeling included at the moment?
What I would like to see change in the next 10 years is more effort in dealing with what are the structural barriers stopping people or have prevented people from succeeding and living their Australian dreams. And that's a role for everyone. It's a role for business leaders, it's a role for community services, it's a role for government, it's a role for individual. It's a role for neighbors to look out, who is struggling, in the context of, especially in the context of race and ethnicity. What are the challenges facing this particular family, this neighbor of mine, this colleague of mine at work, or this group of migrant community that seem to be facing challenges. What are the problems? Let's get the conversation started. What can anyone do about it? Because giving up and condemning the whole idea of many people coming into Australia, that's like regretting the whole idea of multiculturalism in itself, and that's not acceptable. Australians still believe in multiculturalism, and what should be a reminder to everyone, to individuals, to the entire community, to the entire society, to our political leadership, is not to give up on multiculturalism. It is a great idea, it is working, it has made Australia unique in the world. Yes, there are challenges. Let's look into what these challenges are, facing certain groups or certain communities, and let's start to deal with them. And as I said, we should not and we must not give up on multiculturalism itself.